Hello everyone and welcome to another beautiful game from round 1 of this year's FIDE Chess Olympiad. It is match Morocco versus India, and we have on board 2, which I think it's board 2 as chess.com interface is showing it that way. Seemingly Pragnananda is playing board 1 and Arjun is playing board 2, even though Arjun is higher rated. I will check on that, but yeah, for the moment it does seem that that's the case. And we have Jacques Elbilia versus Arjun Erigaisi, and a lot of you requested this game because of the sort of weird sacrifice that Arjun made. Why is it weird? Well, because objectively, the sacrifice that he made should lose him the game, but only if his opponent continues playing the absolute best moves, which is not very easy. And another thing that I found interesting was that I've checked Jacques Elbilia's, rating progress through time. He's been playing since like 1992, even before that, and he stopped playing as around 2011, and his rating remained the same all the way up to 2023. So he had some 12 years without a single classical game being played, and now I guess he took a break and now he returned to chess. So I thought also maybe something important to mention. But yeah, let's check it out and let's see what this weird moment is all about. Jacques with white opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 by Arjun, pawn to c4, pawn to e6, and knight to c3. And okay, Arjun goes for the Nimzo-Indian defense, bishop to b4. We have pawn to e3, which is usually met with castles or pawn to c5. Arjun goes for pawn to b6. This is the third most popular option, but okay, you want to develop the light square bishop as quickly as possible. If your opponent doesn't really know how to punish this, it is a very interesting way to play. Plus, you also get the knight to e4 as quickly as possible, especially since the knight is still pinned. So okay, knight to e2, knight to e4, and bishop to d2. And okay, Arjun grabs the dark square bishop, he wins the bishop pair, queen captures and castles kingside. We have pawn to a3, and of course Arjun preserves the bishop, bishop to e7, pawn to g3, and now bishop to b7. And the position has been reached before. Popular moves are some like pawn to d5, pawn to e4. A move that has never been played here, even though it is engine approved, is rook to g1. The engine just doesn't care. I mean, castling is way overrated. We're just going to play bishop to g2 and trade bishops here. So that's that. But in the game, Jacques played pawn to e4, and now knight to c6. We have queen to d3. b4 is the move that makes the most sense, but after queen to d3, Arjun thought, all right, if you can waste the tempo, I can waste the tempo, and he played bishop to a6. And notice, Arjun has an hour and 22 minutes on the clock, and he spent 20 minutes on bishop to a6. Now, okay, you are breaking some fundamental chess principles, you are moving the same piece twice in the opening, and the reason why he spent 20 minutes is he has to calculate what happens if pawn to b4 now, threatening pawn to b5. Is bishop on a6 just a silly move? Obviously, he has something prepared. And, okay, Jacques is very interested. He plays pawn to b4. It is by far the best move recommended by the engine, as it is in many other positions. And, okay, how do you defend b5? Bishop captures on b4. Arjun sacrifices the bishop, or rather he gives up a piece for 2 pawns on the queen side, which, okay, even if you don't have compensation for the piece, you will still be able to push some pawns here, maybe create a passed pawn, and have a nice game. So, okay, bishop captures on b4, a captures, knight captures, attacking the queen, and queen to b1. We have pawn to c5. And now, this game and this position in particular reminded me of the old Garry Kasparov quote where he said, I don't know where he said it or why, I think it was some sort of a chess-based course that he was explaining. He said that not in this, but in the position that he was explaining, the better player is better. So he didn't say like white is better or black is better or white is, white could be better. He said the better player is better. Now, obviously this isn't one such position as today we have engines and we know who is better. I don't know, I just thought of that. And here rook captures on a6 was played, sort of giving back the advantage entirely. But what was Jacques so afraid of? Why did he not go? Okay, the bishop is attacking the pawn, why not defend the pawn? What could Arjun have played here? Well, let's explore some ideas. Let's say you go queen to e7, which is the top engine move. I don't think it would be played in the game because there are other moves more human that make more sense. But just, give you an example. Capture, something like bishop to e2, you castle, and not much to be said about this position. But we could further complicate it by playing bishop to b7 instead. Okay, we're putting pressure on the long diagonal. Let's say pawn to d5, e captures, knight f captures, and now pawn to b5. Why do you play this? Well, c captures on d5, c captures on b5, knight captures on d5, now knight captures on d5, and bishop captures on d5. For example, pawn captures, rook e8 check, bishop to e2, and now queen to e7, threatening checkmate, preventing you from castling. White will defend with rook to e2. You could play pawn to c4. Okay, that's definitely possible. Let's say castles pawn to c3, and now after queen to d3 or queen to b3, you have to defend the bishop. So queen to d3. Let's say rook 8 to c8. You defend your passed pawn. White will blockade the pawn, and after something like queen to a3, you will also play rook f to c1. And the white will have to, black will have to give up the pawn. But okay, you can play something like g6. For the moment, you still cannot start capturing because the bishop on e2 is weak. Let's say bishop f3, rook c5, and now you're going to play rook captures on c3, and now there is really nothing more for black to try here. You will have to give up the queen for 2 rooks, but it's still not enough because there's also a bishop and there's really nothing to play for. So in the long run, it's very hard to find an argument against the bishop to f4. I guess when you're as strong as Arjun and when you're rated 2778, you really can play anything. And here, Jacques played rook captures on a6, spending some 12 minutes on the move, and Arjun happily captures back. And now, okay, maybe he's still down a little bit of material. He has, Jacques has a bishop and knight for a rook, but Arjun is very much back in the game. We have pawn to d5, and now knight to b4, and also he has a passed a pawn. We have bishop to g2, e captures on d5, we have knight captures and knight captures, e captures and rook to e8. We have queen to d3, defending the knight, you can castle, and now pawn to b5. And this is a really tricky move by Arjun, because if you capture, and this is this line is so beautiful, I have to show it. If c captures on b5, look at this, queen to a5 check. The only way for white to sort of remain in the game is to block with the queen. Now you give another check, and after queen to d1, now you play rook captures on e2, and after king captures, rook to e8 with check, trying to either checkmate the black king, or maybe if you go back, even win the white queen. But you can play king to f3, and now queen to f6. Best here would be to just give up the bishop so you can hide the king on g2. But if you start running, queen to f6 with check, king to g4, h5 with check, king to h3, and now queen to f5 with check. And I'm playing only moves that win here for black. Pawn to g4, only move that wins, queen captures on f2, let's say rook to f1, and now another really wild move, rook to e3 check, bishop to f3, okay, nicely defending everything here, h captures on g4, king captures, and now another only move that wins the game, queen captures on h2, and after, let's say, rook to g1, now you will play rook to e5, and there is no defense against pawn to f5. If you try something like rook h1, pawn to f5 check, king g5, queen to g3 check, and that's it. You either start giving up material or king to h5, and now pawn to f4 will be checkmate. So that's what Arjun had in mind, sort of, when he played pawn to b5. So here we have castles kingside, and now just pawn to b4. Arjun creates a passed pawn, and he will very soon start advancing the passed a pawn as well. We have pawn to d6, opening up on a discovery on the rook, rook to b8, and now knight to f4. We have queen to f6, queen to b3, stopping the passed pawn, and queen captures on d6. We have bishop to d5, trying to put some pressure on the f7 pawn, but it doesn't really achieve all that much. Queen a6, Arjun ready to play queen a3 and offer a queen trade, rook to d1, and now rook to e7, adding a defender to the 7th rank, but also you don't really need it. You could also play queen a3 right away. King to g2 and queen to a3. We have queen to b1, declining the queen trade, pawn to b3. Arjun advances the passed b pawn, queen to f5, putting pressure on f7, so the rook on e7 is very well placed here, and now queen back to a6. We have knight to d3, going after the c5 pawn, queen to f6, just offering a queen trade, and then you will continue advancing the passed pawn to victory. Queen captures on f6, we have g captures, and now with king to f1, you're still in the game, but after queen to f3, you've missed a really important detail in the position, and Arjun doesn't miss it. We have pawn to b2, and now you have to react with rook to b1, but now your king is on the same file as the knight. So rook to b1, and now the only move that wins, but of course Arjun saw it right away. Rook to b3. He pre-moved it really, as he won a lot of time here. Bishop to e4, and now the move you had to see, pawn to d5. You can't capture with the bishop, otherwise you lose the knight, so pawn captures on d5, and now pawn to c4, winning the knight. Rook captures on b2, but Arjun says, I'm in no rush to take the knight, I'll just play rook to a3. We have rook to d2, and now king to g7. Not even rushing with the capture of the knight. Arjun starts playing like a true 2800. King to f4, and now c captures on d3, winning the piece. Bishop to f5. If you capture here, just rook to a4 with check, and after king f3, something like rook to d4, you put, the king is cut off from the e file. You can't move the bishop, otherwise you lose the rook. You can move the rook, you lose the bishop. Anything wins here. You can just advance the past a pawn to victory. You can win the d5 pawn and then capture everything here and then advance the past pawn to victory. So there are many winning scenarios here. Bishop to f5 was played, but now rook to a4 check, king f3, and rook to e5. And he was in this position on move 40 upon reaching time control that Jacques Elbilia resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once, let's say, you play g4, rook to d4, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing better than to capture on d3, and then we capture on d5, and like we said, anything is winning here. You can just start advancing the past a pawn, for example, king e2, pawn to a4, and now there's nothing better than to trade the bishop for pawn, because the pawn will become a queen. Rook captures, Arjun would be up a full rook, and of course completely winning. So it's a really wild game, really interesting sacrifice by Arjun. It's hard to say why he did it, but and it wasn't even prepared. It was sort of a spur of the moment thing, and yeah, India did defeat them 4-0. But yeah, you could play so many other moves, but I guess he thought, all right, my opponent is playing sort of a sideline, I want to play interesting chess, spends 20 minutes on bishop to a6, invites b4, and then just bishop captures on b4. Yeah, that's there's no other way to explain this. Of course, he's a stronger player, and yes, I always remember Kasparov's in this and every position, the better player is better. But I always like to remind you that, okay, you have a position where, let's say, an engine says Jacques was +3 or +2.5. Against a player like Arjun, that means that over the next 30 moves or over the next 100 moves, because let's face it, Arjun can play this for as long as he likes, on every move, Jacques will have an option of playing, let's say, 5 to 10 good moves each move, and then this one is better than the next one, and then let's say he doesn't choose the absolute best move every move, he chooses second or third best move every move, and let's say Arjun chooses the best move every move. Over the course of 20 moves, the +3 or +2.5 will come to 0-0. So that's the thing with being a +2.5 to +3 against a player of Arjun's strength. And when you have such a situation, you don't play for points. You don't play for, okay, I want a piece against a strong player. How do I? No, you just have to play the position. You always have to play the best move. You have to play a move that is in true spirit of the position. And that's how you may take down an almost 2800 like Arjun. Otherwise, it's merely a matter of time. Even without this rook captures an a6 move, Arjun would have found a way, as strong players usually do. But sometimes they don't, and that's why we enjoy chess coverage. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Brilliantly played by Arjun. There's no other way to put it. I would like to thank Ren Songhua, Joseph Treat, GrizzlyChessFestival.org.gg, Dr. Captain Collins, and Professor Hexagon for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.